very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
When the world is chaotic, a hero emerges. A hero with accuracy, discipline, and precision. The hero that we need.
Welcome to another edition of For the Love of the Game. Today we are blessed with a Virginia legend, an American University legend, a Highland Springs legend, a G League legend, and yes, even though it wasn't for a long period of time, guess what? An NBA legend. They still talking about him in the NBA. So we are blessed with Coach Andre Ingram. Coach Andre, how are you doing today, sir?
Tony, I'm doing great. That's great to be on here with you guys. I'm looking forward to the show. I've seen some great things. Now I get to be a part of some great things. So this is cool. I appreciate y'all having me.
Amen. And of course, we're always blessed with Coach David Fowler. Amen. How you doing, Coach? How's everything been today?
Good, man. Good.
Okay, I see you red in the face.
Glad to be here with Andre, man. I'm ready. What'd you say, Tony?
I see you a little red in the face. You was putting up some shots before the podcast. Were you working out before the podcast?
No, man. I got out the shower.
Oh, that's what it was. All right.
This is what I do.
I thought she was doing it, you know.
No, man. Listen. I don't work out enough to get this red. Okay. The shower can do this to
me. Amen. Well, Coach Andre, we ask everybody this question. Now we're going to hit you up with this question. When and how did you fall in love with basketball?
Man, easy answer, Tony. So born in 85. When I first started heavily watching basketball, it was in the 90s. I mean, that was Chicago, that was MJ. And you know, there's a lot of talk now about who's the greatest, all that type of stuff. It's just when I watched back then in the 90s and my first introduction to basketball, like really following it as I began playing at around 8 years old, but really, you know, watching the height of, you know, the Bulls and MJ. I mean, that was it. It was love for me, you know, watching the Bulls, watching that red, watching Mike with the bald head and just how he played. Every time I watched them, you know, whether it was highlights and they're doing like videos of them or, you know, just watching them playing games, he made me want to go outside and do it. Like, you know, it was that much inspiring. It just hit me. And, you know, maybe that's the kid in me, but I just haven't had that feeling watching, you know, pretty much anyone else for the most part. But at that age, being that young, being exposed to the game at that time, I mean, I was, you know, into 90s NBA basketball. That was my love of basketball. So it was a lot to do with the NBA. I rarely watched college, if at all. It was, you know, it was the height of the Bulls era. And so, yeah, man, that was the love for me. That was all I needed to see to say, you know what, man, I would love to play this game.
Amen. Now
I think we could solve, Tony. I think we could solve the debate. Every person that has come on here on our show, and we're pretty deep into our episodes now, and said that they fell in love with basketball because of Michael Jordan. I think we can put that GOAT conversation to sleep, man. I think we figured it out.
Amen.
Well, that's what it was for me. It certainly was for me.
Amen. Well, he was the perimeter GOAT. He is the perimeter. I'll give him the perimeter GOAT. All right.
Yeah, good one, Joe. I ain't heard it like that before. Yeah.
He's my perimeter. But I say Kareem got him when it comes to accomplishments. But you know, we'll have me and Coach Fowler have a debate on Kareem versus Michael Jordan one day. Amen. But
I think I can beat you with that.
Okay.
You can't scare me with a good time.
But with that being said,
Hey, did you know there's this little button? It's right here on the video, and it reads SUBSCRIBE. And when you click that little button, an angel gets its wings. For real.
now this one's more of a personal question. Coach Andre, as you got older and you got better, when was the first time that you were able to beat your older brother? When was that first time? What year was that?
Yeah, I remember distinctly. So, I got an older brother who's 7 years my older, and we never played one-on-one. We would always play two-on-two. So,
Oh,
me and my best friend, Coach Mark, Tony, you know Coach Mark.
okay.
So, yeah, man, me and Coach Mark would play against my brother, and who his name is Lou, and the Verona High School head basketball coach now, Boom, Coach Boom, people call him. That was my brother's partner. So we would play 2v2. And year after year, they would beat us. But I think when I want to say, because in high school, my brother was still going pretty good, is after he got out of high school and I'm entering high school. So right around that eighth, ninth grade year for me, here's the thing, Tony. We didn't start beating them. We stopped playing them. They ain't play us no more. So that was kind of how it went. I was like, we close enough now that we don't play no more. I'm starting to notice we don't play 2-on-2 no more. We're like, but yeah, we were close knocking on the door, and right around my ninth grade year, Coach Mark was a senior at the time, but my brother had been out of high school at that point and not playing basketball as much, and so yeah, we were about to take over, and before we could take over, we ain't play no more. So,
Amen. Amen. Amen.
They,
Now,
they
what
knew
was
when to they knew when to walk away, Coach. They knew when to walk away.
hey, I ain't mad at him. It's funny, when you feel like you can finally beat your big brothers, you feel like you beat anybody. So, that it just gave me a lot of confidence playing against them. I always tell people play against older people if you want to get better. If you want to, truly gauge where you are. And in terms of confidence, if you're playing older people, it just helps, man. So yeah, that was my older brother. So to this day, I can't claim I can beat him. I ain't officially seen it. But yeah, I think I know what was happening as we got older.
that's good. That's good. That's good. Now, when did you start AAU and what was your AAU team back in the day?
So I started AU my seventh grade year. We were called the Richmond Metro Gold at that time, and I'm not even sure if they're still in existence. Maybe it's team. It had turned to Team Richmond at some point. But my seventh grade year, I loved it because I had made my middle school team my sixth grade year, seventh grade year, but didn't play. Then no minutes. And so, AAU was my first time at a, age of, middle school age and try out like school type age where I could actually play. I was playing with my age group, playing with my year, and I got a lot of playing time. And, that was my first experience with getting that much time. I'd always made teams, always had skill, never been able to get on the court. So AAU introduced that for me. It was excellent for me,
Awesome.
especially when you're playing on teams where you're like a younger guy, you play on older people, and you're trying to get on the court and can't. AAU was that for me. So it served a great purpose when I entered into AAU. So seventh grade year for me.
Awesome. Seventh grade year. Do you remember your AAU coach? Want to give him a shout out?
Yeah, man. George Humpy Green. He was our assistant coach back then. We had Coach Chuck States. He was our coach, and Joe Suter. So it was three coaches. So we had Coach States, Coach Suter, and Coach Humpy Green. And Humpy Green kind of took over for us as we got older. But those were my first three AAU head coaches, man. It was an excellent time. Excellent time.
Amen. Now, did you stay with that team throughout? Did you stay with them the whole time?
I did. I was with Richard Metro Gold. Again, we turned into Team Richmond by the time we got into high school years. The same program and everything. And yeah, man, I stayed with them, and it was no switching anything like that. And we built up a pretty good group of guys that was in this Eastern area, and had great success. Great success in the state of Virginia, great success even on the national stage. We got as high as the national tournament in Orlando. We were fourth in the nation, playing against NBA players and stuff like that, guys who you would know at the twilight of their career, or peak of their careers, I should say. We were playing against those guys and winning games, man. So it was a fun time, but we had a really good team. I mean, you're talking by the time I'm in my junior and senior year of high school, we had the top guys in this Eastern area, and Yeah, man, we represented very well.
That's awesome. Well, let me back up a minute. When you all went to the finals, or in the nationals in Orlando, is there an NBA player that you went up against that was a memorable moment or a memorable thought, or is there anyone where you were like, ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
like they really stood out to you?
Yeah. At the time, Big Baby Davis was a big deal at the time when he was. You got to think so. Big Baby from Celtics days, and how key a part he was of that team. But this was us knowing him, and kind of just kind of gaining some fame, gaining some recognition. So not on the NBA level yet, but people know who he is. Big dude, number one high school football player at the time, I believe, and that dude could ball too. Just a big, strong presence on the court, man. I'm glad I don't play down low. I play on the perimeter. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I shoot a lot of threes. He's down there. I never had to deal with him. But yeah, that was probably like the guy that we had played against. At times we played against Dwight Howard's AU team as well at one point. But I mean, the name that as soon as you say it was kind of the biggest thing you played during that time, Big Baby was the name that comes to mind. He was just was a force of nature back then. He was a big dude, and as advertised, I would say.
Wow, 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 wow. Now
Mhm.
of course, you're not tall for NBA standards, but for high school and junior high standards, you're pretty tall. Did the coach ever try to make you go down low because you were taller, or did they
Cer-
ever try that with you?
Yeah, certainly. Middle school, I was a center, and for my middle school team, I played center when I finally got the chance to play. But no, in terms of AAU, I'd always played on the wing. I was, always a wing player, which is my natural position. I'm a two guard at heart, just naturally. That's my position, two guard or on the wing perimeter. So, but a couple of times, yeah, I had to play down low, and I rebounded well as a guard. So, if we needed to go small and I'm playing four or guarding bigger guys, yeah, that was quite common. Even in college, I would say being at a mid major. So I was able to use my size and kind of learn tricks of the trade, guarding against big men, stuff like that.
Tune in, like, and subscribe for the love of the game with Tony and David.
Amen, amen. Now, you went to high school and you meet another Virginia legend. Tell us all about Coach Lancaster. Amen.
Yeah, Coach Land. So, like I said, my older brother, 7 years my older, so I got to watch him play for Coach Land. And I tell you, man, like going to my brother's games, and we went to all of them. You there to watch the game, but Coach Land is a show all by himself. When he talking to the refs, getting after his players. You hear him. He's a massive voice, massive presence that you hear above everyone. So I mean, even opposing players loved playing against them. You kind of felt like he was your coach still. He just had a way with people, man. Had a way with his team, and I was thrilled to be able to know that I was going to Highland Springs and I was going to play for Coach Land. Like that was part of the draw of Highland Springs basketball was playing for Coach Land. And to this day, Highland Springs right now. I mean, most people would know it as like a football school. A lot of state championships in football. It will always be for me known as a basketball school, and that's all Coach Land, man. He just came in and turned the program completely around. And like I said, it was a show, but not like a show like theatrics and these guys. There's no substance. He was the show and had all the substance. It was just an experience to come watch a Highland Springs game.
Amen. Coach Wooden used to say that if I've taught my point guard well, I can spend all my time coaching. Uh, I'm gonna be in the face of the referee while my point guard is running the game. You know what I'm saying? So some of the greatest coaches, they know that they got to work them refs all game long. Just to make sure that they get the right outcome. Now, what year did you all win state championship?
Senior year, that was 2003. Yeah, and that was Holland Springs' first state championship since 1960. So it was, I mean, for all of our lives, I mean, great basketball teams, great players, obviously great coaching, Coach Land. And all the years prior to me, my brother's teams, the teams before him, really, really talented players. Some of the most talented players in Virginia basketball history had come through there. And We just couldn't win the state, and the sticking point, because back then there wasn't as many classes and divisions as you have now. There's like 4 state champions now. Back then it was one big dog in all of the area, and we just couldn't get to that level, man. We would get stuck at the regional semifinal level. That's like we consistently got there and just ran up on really good teams. It's not like it wasn't like choke jobs or anything like that. It's just really good teams, and it's hard to break through. We finally broke through in 2003. So yeah, that's when we won it.
That had to feel good your senior year as well. That had to feel really, really good.
Well, let me tell you how good it was. So we that was so me and my class. My class, me, a guy named Jamar Fleming, who I went to school with from elementary on, from Adams Elementary to Fairfield Middle School to Highland Springs. Our only focus, our only goal was winning a state championship. So much so that even when he and I are getting college offers, like, D1 offers, I'm telling everybody, I'm telling all these colleges, I'm not signing anything, I'm not doing anything till we win the state. And and I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't know, like that, okay, if you make these teams wait, they're gonna go with somebody else because they gotta, fill their rosters and see who's coming and stuff like that. And so the cool thing was winning the state championship. That's the not so cool thing was after we won that, out of all of the offers I had, I was left with 2 by the time we had won the state. And that's kind of how I ended up at American University. They were one of the only 2 teams that were left after we had won the state. But it was in the words of your daughter, Tony, it was worth it. It was certainly worth it. Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, Courtney says that when she does something wrong, like there's certain times she does something
That's
wrong.
what I know.
She said, "Yeah, it was worth it."
Yeah, I don't even want to get off topic. Quick story: we're doing a drill. I'm coaching her. We doing a drill, and it's like a team drill, competition drill. And the other team is, talking like kids do today. They talk a lot, talk a lot of smack, talk a lot of junk, and they yakking at Courtney. They just talking to Courtney, talking to Courtney. Courtney makes the shot, and and sticks it right back at him. He's supposed to, like, it's a drill where if you make the shot, you can take an extra layup for like an extra point. So she drains the 3, mouthing off at everybody so much so she forgot to take her extra layup. And at the end of the practice, I said, Courtney, you know why you forgot that layup? Because you was, yapping with everybody instead of focusing. She said, she cut me off. She's like, it was worth it. It was worth it. I said, yeah, that's Courtney.
But
what's crazy? Your daughter, Tony, it was worth it.
But what's crazy is she only gets like that. Like she's really at home in your gym. You know what I mean? So with her uncle Andre there, and in her that's at other gyms she gets a lot more calm where she's not she's not squawking like that. But she at Cool Springs she just look like that. That's my gym. You know what I'm saying? So she is. So she doesn't do that everywhere, but in Cool Springs she starts squawking a little bit, especially with her uncle Andre around. Did any of your other teammates did they go play in college as well from the Virginia State Championship?
Yep. So Jamar Fleming, who I mentioned, he ended up going to Virginia State and playing there. We had one of our big guys, Maurice Reevy. He had now some of our guys had offers for football. Maurice Reevy had an offer to Virginia Tech for football. This is when Tech is, big time football program. Another one of our bigs, Wyatt Hicks, he went to UNC on a football scholarship, North Carolina Tar Heels, so and we had guys off our bench who ended up going. One went to Radford to play ball. Our starting point guard, who was a junior, he went to William and Mary to play football. So we were, we had a lot of guys who ended up playing collegiately. One of our bigs on the bench went to Clemson, a football scholarship. So we had a lot of guys who were just athletes and collegiate athletes, and those football programs, those like big time programs. So. And I tell people all the time, you want to win in high school basketball, you need some football players. You just do. They're enforcers, they're screeners. So your basketball players can do the scoring. To win, you need somebody that's going to do all the other stuff. And that's what our football players did for us. They were excellent.
Amen.
Like and subscribe for the love of the game.
Matter of fact, we know Coach Fowler and I know a gentleman who I have a lot of respect for. He had his daughter play tackle football just so that she could be ready for the contact in basketball. So yeah, you're definitely right. It does help, and I did it with jujitsu with my kids. But now you said 2 colleges. What was that other college other than American that gave you that offer? What was the other choice? The other fork in the road?
The other one was William and Mary, and
William and Mary. Okay.
yep, and the problem was they were in the middle of changing coaches, so they had fired their last coach and hadn't signed one yet. So
Mm.
I mean, it it was American. There you go. So so American and William and Mary, and neither one was I able to do the major that I went to. Highland Springs has a specialty center for engineering. So I was in the engineering program for 4 years. Every single one of the classmates I had with me during that time, they're engineers today. I'm the only one that ain't one. So, but yeah, so the colleges I was choosing from, obviously I went on basketball scholarship. They went on academics, but yeah, neither one of them offered engineering. So I wasn't thrilled about that. American did tell me at the time, though, I could still major in engineering. I had to do it through what they call a consortium through the University of Maryland. I'm eating it all up, thinking, okay, this is cool. There was no way with our practice schedule and times and games. There was no way I could have did it. They knew that. I didn't know, but I got to play college ball. I wasn't complaining.
I hear you. I hear you. Now, Highland Springs is a little more sophisticated than my hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina. But I remember when I came up here to live in Virginia, I would jump on that metro and I would go and get off at American to try to holler at girls, before I got saved and everything. And and I remember getting off at American and not that exact spot, but I'm talking about I remember like the DC. It just was
Mm-hmm.
a lot for me. When you're a country boy from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and
I
then you
get it.
riding the metro. Yeah, just the metro was like, because I didn't need nobody to give me no ride to go to the party. I didn't need nobody, I could just jump on the metro and just
Yeah.
pop off and just see different cultures and different
Mm-hmm.
worlds. And I remember going to American and just to check
Yep.
out to check out the girls, to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, what
I
what
know.
was it like, that cultural transfer going from Highlands, even though it's only 70 miles, 80 miles? What was that change going from Highland Springs, which is like at least maybe I'm wrong, but like a sleepy suburb of Richmond, to to DC? Like what was
Yeah.
that cultural experience like?
Well, I tell you, it's not necessarily Highland Springs to DC that's the difference. It's who I am. Like I'm a homebody, doesn't do very much, doesn't go off very much. Kind of stays to himself, kind of stays home. If I'm not in the gym, I'm at home type dude, play video games, not very much out, not very much partying. To go from that to DC, and yeah, Tony, just like you and your goals and going to America and DC, that ended up being my goals. It ended up being a very big problem for me. It ended up being a very big problem for me until I truly, I'd always been in the church and had been and known right from wrong, which is why it hurt even more when I wasn't doing right, and ended up really having to look at myself being alone, being, away from your parents just far enough that you are away, and having to live on your own. It was so much freedom. College in general was just so much freedom. And so anytime I'm, giving advice to, especially a believer who is going into college, going away from college about the experience of freedom, I try to let them know all the time, listen, all the things that you know better. And you get there, you get the freedom, and you don't know what you'll end up doing. The key is don't believe the lie that you have gone astray too far, or that because you knew better and didn't do better, you ain't gonna never be forgiven for this. That's the exact opposite of what you can think. That's what the enemy wants you to think.
Right.
And yeah, man. So I was doing the same things you was doing. Long story short, Tony,
Amen.
when I got to DC, and it was a lot. And I don't know if it was DC necessarily, even though DC, that area itself, there's a lot going on. But I wasn't like with basketball and our scheduling for practice. I coach with scheduled practice at 4 o'clock, which is just late enough that when you finish, you don't feel like doing nothing, and just early enough that you really ain't got no, all day you're kind of thinking about, man, 4 o'clock gonna be here after a while. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't really get to explore DC like that. It was just the college freedom in general that got me. And yeah, man. So that's what I would say was the biggest culture, change or shock for me. It was going from being this homebody who doesn't really see a lot, but a gym and basketball and home and video games, to now I'm seeing everything. And now you're commanding a lot of attention. Everybody knows you and you can do what you want for real, and so that part hit me. I did not handle it well. But I did get a grasp on it and kind of change things toward the end of my junior year. So my life changed in college, for the better by going through that and kind of not making so good decisions.
Okay, that's awesome.
I must have been completely out of the loop, man, because I've never heard anybody associate looking for girls at American University with all the school, with all the schools in the DMV, with all the places right around that area.
Yeah,
America would have been the last one I probably would have picked to go looking for some girls. So I learned something new today.
Oh, Coach Fowler, you have to understand.
Especially the ones we look for, Tony.
No. Trust me, Coach Fowler. It was Howard first, and then
okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't just stop it at Howard. I stopped at every metro stop in DC. That's just the experience of going to all the spots in DC. Like I had never seen a limousine until I went up to DC. Now, who is your coach at American University?
Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones is my coach. Jeff Jones played at UVA, played with Ralph Sampson, big, tall point guard, 6'5". He taller than me, bigger than me. Wow. And he played point guard. So one of the first bigger point guards that you had. He was Ralph Sampson point guard. He was a very good player, very good coach. So he coached me at American. Before that, he coached at UVA after playing at UVA, and then ultimately coached at ODU before retiring.
Oh, amen. Now, Coach Fowler and I, we have two different tastes in coaches. He's a Bobby Knight guy. I'm a John Wooden guy. So, Coach JJ, was he more of a Bobby
Knight for sure? Bobby Knight. I'm gonna cut you off. Bobby Knight. And I'm gonna tell you, but it's funny because but that's what I was used to. That's what I knew. So I didn't mind that. I'll say this: Coach Jones was Bobby Knight with me, and in my class. And when my class left, and this is words from the guys who, when I was a junior and senior, they were freshmen and sophomores. When we left and got up out of there, he moved from the Bobby Knight and he moved over to the John Wooden side, the lighter side, I'm just saying. And lo and behold, they win a lot more on the lighter side, So yeah, they making tournaments now back to back and making history at an American on the lighter side. Now us on the Bobby Knight side, we just getting drilled every day, dreading practice every day, But I mean, I don't fault him for that. I don't blame him for that. It's what I knew too. I mean, that's what I knew. That's what I came up on. Even Coach Land. So Coach Land, he wasn't Bobby Knight, but he was. He would get after you, he would get on you. But it was a high school coach, and you're dealing with high school kids, and you're dealing with black kids and fatherless kids, and a lot of times. So I mean, he was much more than just Bobby Knight to us. Jeff Jones, it was straight up Bobby Knight. There wasn't no fatherly, type thing, and not that I expected that, not that I needed that. But yeah, if you ask him what he was, what Jeff Jones was to our class, yeah, it was the Bobby Knight style of coaching. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, so this really makes you stand out. What attracted you to the field of physics? You got a degree in physics from American University. Not a lot of athletes. Yeah, a lot of athletes get degrees in basket weaving. So, because there's a lot of athletes where they're like, oh, I'm just going to do the minimum requirement because I'm just here to play ball. But you went and got a degree in physics of all things. What attracted you to the field of physics?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about it, Tony, so I can clear up some things. That is true. I did major in physics, but it wasn't like I was looking for that. So like I said, Highland Springs had a 4-year program, Center for Engineering. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to major in some field of engineering. American didn't have that. Once I figured out I couldn't do the consortium thing they had mentioned while recruiting me, I said, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I went from, I think I started out, I didn't even declare a major my 9th grade or freshman year. And you have to declare something by your sophomore year. I went from business to accounting to some. I mean, I after like 3 different things, then it was physics. So I was like, okay, I guess it's close to kind of what I do. took physics in high school, and so that was physics. It wasn't like I was, going to school to be a physics major and to go to NASA and no, that wasn't it. I was, if anything, from the choices given, I should have just majored in math. So even today, I still tutor kids in mathematics, high school maths, college prep tests, all that type of stuff. I still tutor that stuff today. I could be teaching math somewhere had I majored in it, and I don't use the physics part at all now. In a way, maybe when I'm playing, when I was shooting, and throughout my career, subconsciously, maybe somehow physics may have helped. But I mean, I haven't used it. So yeah, I majored in physics, and it was tough. Anybody who's thinking about it, I steer them clear away from it, and and tell them make a better decision, because that ain't the one. It is. College physics is especially hard. Even high school physics was. So I don't know what I was thinking to land on physics. I was thinking, well, this is probably the closest thing I can do. And to engineering of some sort that would be, of interest to me. And it was crazy, Tony. The good thing about American is we had a professor. He's the head of the physics department now. He wasn't at the time. He was just a professor when I was in school, but now he's the head of the physics department. The best thing about it was he knew none of us in that class, and we talking about a class of 9, 10 people. He knew none of us went to American to major in physics. He knew that, so he was very generous with our grading, with our curve. I don't think any of us legitly got over a grade of 60 in any assignment we did, legitimately. Now, but he would curve it all the way up to, whoever got the highest score, that's 100. And then you can kind of go from there. But yeah, he was very cool about that. He was very, very cool about that, and made it an enjoyable time. Because I tell you this about American. Like, you hear some other schools, kids ain't going to class, they ain't really, some of them because they went and done, or others just because at a high major school, you ain't got to go to class. American wasn't having that. My teachers, my professors did not care that I had a game that night or last night. And, so I'm in class doing that. Like, I'm doing that a lot, like tired from games and road trips. We're mid-major, we bus everywhere, we don't fly, so we getting in late. I got class in the morning. I'm literally nodding off in class and like not just waking up like this, but jerking like this, and it's embarrassing, man. Kids looking at me and everything. Them teachers don't care, man. I had to work. I had to perform in the classroom. So it was very, very tough to succeed in the classroom. And that was something I was used to doing. I had a very high GPA in high school. And somebody told me, when you get to college, subtract that GPA by a full point. And that's exactly what happened too. But so I was right around 3.5 or something like that in college. So yeah, it was something, man. It was something.
Well, I used your love of mathematics because Courtney was whining about mathematics, and then I let her know her hero loves math, and so she pulled off an A because of the Coach Andre influence. So you are partially responsible for her A this season. All right. Good. So I thank you for that. Now, with your love of math, did it ever surprise you that basketball analytics did not figure out the value of 3-point shooting prior to 2012? Did you ever think about that before Mark Jackson kind of brought it in? Because I know Donnie Nelson tried to bring it in, and then Mark and Tony, he tried to bring it in, but it never took over. And now I look back, and to be honest with you, I kind of look back at the league like, man, y'all. 3 is more than 2. You know what I'm saying? Like what? And the reason why I say that, because y'all are 2 basketball heads, you kind of understand what I'm coming from on this. I remember Coach Collins when he became an announcer, and other like those old school coaches dogging out the 3. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And just disrespecting the 3. And I remember them saying, "Oh, it's such a low percentage shot," and the da 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 da. And then now, and that you look back at the mathematical perspective, and it's just like, wow, how come it took them so long, other than tradition? So, your mathematical mind, did you see it early, or what were your thoughts?
I did not see it, Tony. Like I said, I grew up in an old school style of basketball, everywhere from the coaching and how you were coached to how you played. So I understood. And I mean, even me, a 3-point shoot, but I became a 3-point shooter as a pro. Throughout high school and college, I'm a scorer. I'm just scoring, you know. And then as a pro, that's when it kind of came with a specialty of 3-point shooting. So I didn't see it either, Tony, to be honest with you. The pushback from coaches, and I guess adopting it fully, before, analytics just says this is definitely a better way of doing things. Sometimes threes can be looked at as settling or less aggressive, non-aggressive. So it's not necessarily that it's just 3-point shooting that has risen, but also that everything to the whole has risen as well. So what's being cut out is that mid-range area. So there's a growth in threes for sure, but also if you're not taking that three, it's all the way to the rim to get a chance at the free throw line, because out of all the analytics in the shots, I believe that the free throw is like the highest thing on the list. Right. And then it's the corner three, and then and mid range ends up being glass or something like that. But so yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it, either, Tony. And then the teams that tried it, your Donnie Nelsons, your Mark D'Antonis, those guys are pioneers to even think to do that. I'm not sure if that was their basketball thinking, or if they looked at their personnel and said we need to play like this. Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe the analytics in there as well. But I could not see it at first. And then, like I said, it takes the personnel too. So, one of the most shocking, NBA championships, to date, or when all of this started, was the 2015 Warriors. I did not think they would win. I watched NBA, like I said, grew up in the 90s. Anything NBA, I'm a student of that. So when they won in 2015, I think that was the very first championship where you could say these dudes won it off that 3-point line. Before then, I think even with all the analytics today, before then, nobody before 2015, you would say this team won because of their shooting. Right. And then not a lot of other teams have the personnel to duplicate that. So, even still, Tony, being a math guy, being a numbers guy, being a 3-point shooter, I ain't like, just fully sold on it should be 3 or to the hole or nothing. I ain't even fully sold on that, to be honest with you. Right. I enjoy good basketball. If you make it as plain and as simple as, hey, you either got to shoot a 3 or you got to drive all the way to the rim, which is what's being taught to a lot of, NBA guys at this stage. I just think you miss out on like truly understanding the game, truly understanding how to win. It's oversimplified, and then I don't think you gain a lot of intelligence on that court through that, if that's all you kind of think. And I think, yeah, so I think you see a lot of, NBA talent level guys that only know this way or that way. And then you take away that and they kind of like don't understand the game at all. There's still room, in my opinion, for someone who understands the game, that understands angles, that, that if you can shoot, if you shooting, 50-some% from mid-range, that's still a good shot, So yeah, so I didn't see it as a number guy to answer your question, but I'm not so sure that, it still is all or nothing, 3-point line, driving to the hole. I see more of a game than that, or more to the game than that.
Amen. Well, I think Jimmy Butler would agree with you.
I think that's why you see the NBA suffering a little bit, because of what Andre just said, is that you could see the difference in the players, and they don't know the game as well. I think it takes away from the entertainment value. I was a shooter as well, so it's coming from two shooters basically saying that. Amen. I didn't see it going that way, but I do wonder if they really thought that this is what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
When they were implementing it, because they didn't play like that, even though they were trying to play 3-ball and whatnot. 3-point line to 3-point line is what we're watching in the NBA today, pretty much. You don't even have true centers anymore. You don't have positions anymore, really. You have spots on the floor, and everybody's shooting it, and it takes away from the entertainment value. I mean, when you think of the players like Rip Hamilton who played mid range, and you think about even the Tracy McGrady's and the Anthony Hardaways and the players that could get to the rim but also could hit the mid range, could play on all three levels. Those people that brought that in. And Michael Jordan played on all three levels. Wasn't as much of a 3-point shooter but could hit it. But you think about the entertainment value then as opposed to what we're looking at now, where it is, heavy three ball and everybody shooting in, and it's pretty much 3-point line to 3-point line. Not a lot of other action going on, and it's a lot of it's because they don't understand the game.
And that's when I see when it's less watchable and not as enjoyable to watch. Like what David just said, like when it's 3-point line, because that ain't the intention of all the analytics. It's like I said, it's not just the rise in the three, but it's the getting to the free throw line. And so like you'll have, but Coach Fowler's right, like you'll have possession where it's just three, 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 and not good looks. So, like when I first started playing professional ball, the good look threes or how you got threes, somebody like myself, you throw it into the big and he would go to work. The guys had post work back then. Guys played on the post back then. And give it to your big man. If he was 1-on-1, he was going to work. And once he started going to work and they needed the help, then he kicked it out. It's like Shaq talks about all the time. Shaq talked about it all the time. He gets doubled, you kick it out. Those type of threes are good.
Playing inside out.
I don't even mind these types of threes when you get a point guard that breaks down the defense, gets 2 feet in the paint, draws 2, and then kicks out. That type of three is good. But Coach Fowler, I'm with him. The threes that are just, well, let's run up and down, shoot a three. Let's go down through three, without even touching the paint, without committing 2 people. When it's just, crossover, step back, and letting it go. Everybody ain't Steph, you know what I'm saying? So you're so I don't think Steph ruined the game at all. I just think his skill set is a lot higher than others, and his intelligence is a lot higher than others. So if you're trying to duplicate what he's trying to do, it's more to it than the highlights you see. Steph is backdooring. Steph is floater. Steph shoots mid range. It's a lot to it that I think people who truly understand the game can see it. And when it gets unwatchable, it's just kind of a sad thing for a beautiful game, I think.
Absolutely. And that 2015 team weren't up and down and just shooting threes. They moved the ball.
They moved the ball.
Well,
they had great movement.
You were constantly chasing somebody, and that means you had to sacrifice and leave somebody. And so if it was either going to be Steph or it's going to be Clay, you had to leave somebody. And then when they added Durant to it, I mean, at that point, it was just like, how do you even stop this?
Yeah.
Well, Coach Andre, you at American, you were the 5th all-time in points. You are still the 3rd all-time in threes. You're the all-time leader in 3-point field goals made in the Patriot League. You were the Patriot League Rookie of the Year in 2004, and you made NABC All-District in 2005, and you were first team All-Patriot League in both 2005 and 2007. Which one of those milestones do you look back on the fondest?
All right, so the fondest, the Rookie of the Year for the conference, my freshman season, and then first team my senior year. Those two, because obviously the freshman year one, brand new to college, don't really know much. Had to earn kind of my place on the team, and ended up being a starter. And playing well, scoring it, being a scorer, who I was, so having the first season, and that my freshman season, we almost made the tournament. Like we made it to our conference, final, the tournament game, and I played well, and like I said, got Rookie of the Year. That was a big one. And then my senior year one, making first team, because after my rookie year, I did make first team my sophomore season, but then my junior season was my worst season. So my junior season was the first time my basketball career, from 7th grade, it had steadily, improved. 7th grade, you get to play AAU for the first time. You start playing. 8th grade, you finally playing middle school. 9th grade, you make varsity as a 9th grader. You're not playing, but you're still playing AAU. Still, things are going up. Senior year of high school, state championship. freshman year of college, rookie of the year, sophomore year of college, first team. Then my junior year was my worst year. So like it was the first year where, this little linear curve and, it wasn't linear anymore. It was going down. And that was the time I alluded to before with you, Tony, how, what was going on with me outside of the court and, all the freedom of college life and experiencing that for the first time and not handling it well. When my spirit was down, everything was down. And I could feel it. I didn't feel like I deserved to succeed. I didn't like who I was. And so it affected everything. So to come back my senior year and really, pull things back together and kind of get that trajectory going upward again. So I would say definitely my senior year, that first team meant a lot to me, as opposed to all the other ones. So yeah, the rookie season coming in my senior season, making first team, those two, I would say.
Okay, all right.
And you said he's the all-time leading 3-point shooter in Patriot League?
Third all-time.
Third all-time. Third all-time in a league that is known for small ball and shooters. And he said he didn't become a shooter till he was a pro. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
A league that's known for that.
Hey,
that's amazing. You got me. Yeah.
Hey, but that just shows how good of a shooter you were as a pro.
Yeah. I as a pro, it was really it was really what I focused on, because that was so mid-major in college playing at American. I'm 6'3", and I'm playing the 3 for our team. I'm playing the 3. Sometimes I'm having to guard a big. I got some strength to me. I rebound well. So I'm able to do some things, inside the paint. And then when I get to the pros, I am consistently, 1 or 2 third shortest person on the team type thing. And I'm not going in the hole as much. And so I'm like, well, you better live out here, And so, yeah, I really started specializing in 3 ball, starting as a pro. But I guess as I was leaving my college career, that's when I started moving further and further back. When the athleticism and the height got a lot bigger, I said, yeah, I'm going to move on out. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, the team consists of 12, 13 people, but what I've already learned from watching Courtney, that you have your teammates and then you have that teammate, your notable teammates, that your road dogs. Who are some notable teammates for you in American that you like to shout out?
Yeah, certainly. Sekou Lewis is definitely the first name that comes to mind. Sekou and I, we were the same class, came in together. He's actually the first person I met when I went on the AU campus. But he's actually now he's the general counsel for the Dallas Mavericks. So he's like team lawyer for the Dallas Mavericks. They got any problems, they call him, So yeah, he's big time, man. But that's my guy, man. We were roommates together all throughout college, same class, same year. He came to American from IMG Academy in Florida. Before that, he was at St. Vincent St. V's with LeBron. He was LeBron's backup. Which is why he went to IMG. Yeah, but he was Braun's backup, man. So I made sure to not ask him too much about Braun, because I know he got that all the time. But yeah, man, Sekou is my guy, my man. I used to see him all the time when we were in season. Whenever my G League team played in Dallas, he would always come. So Sekou Lewis, definitely want to shout him out. Ramon Penny as well. Ramon Penny was he came my sophomore year, mine and Sekou's sophomore year, transfer from Florida State. We have remained good friends and in contact, ever since. Now he lives in LA. He's in the film industry. He's making films, been in films now. And he doing his best to put me in one. So, still talk with him. Yeah, man. So, so those my 2 guys, if I had to think about guys. And then I can't, leave out last one I'll say, point guard, Derek Mercer, who was 2 years under me, but I still keep in contact with him to this day. So as I'm a junior and senior, and I've been a starter for American freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, we have a new class that comes in. He's the point guard. So we kind of in the backcourt together. And I'm kind of like his big brother. And, we still talk to this day. And weekly, I reach out to him and let him know what's going on with me. And so those 3 I would shout out: Sekou, Ramon, and Derek. There's plenty others, but if you off the top of my head, that's what I can think of right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, how did it feel? You know, you graduated. If my research is right, I believe you graduated on time. Amen. And how did it feel when your parents came up for your graduation? How did that feel to, all the way from Highland Springs to see you graduate with a degree in physics on
Yeah.
time, and then also, did so well at American? How did that feel to see your parents see that day? What was that experience like?
I'll tell you something about my parents. So throughout my 4 years at American, um, I'm talking home games, road games, and we traveled as far as the University of Washington in Washington State, and even a tournament in Hawaii. My mother, all 4 years of my college career, didn't miss a single game, home or away. Was at every single one of them. My dad at every single one of them, all but I think three throughout my entire career. And he made the Washington trip. He made the Hawaii trip. His was like just could not be helped the three times he didn't make it. So them being at graduation, I expected that. They, after all of it, had traveled and been through, but yeah, man, but it's crazy, Tony. Like, that type of support is, how I do with my kids now. Like they showed me that this is how it's done. So I don't see it any other way but to do it like that. That what they showed me is what I do now. We move, heaven and earth to get to everything that Malia's at, that Navi's at, that my son is at. And all of us attend. That's how we look at things and we make things work for that. So I would say just what it meant to me, it was that it showed me that, when you have your kids and when it's your turn to, be a parent, you be there at everything for whatever reason, no matter how small you think it is, no matter how big you think it, you be there. And yeah, so that's what it meant to me, man. They were at everything. So that's all I know how to do and all I know how to be. So I move my schedule, I move whatever I got to do to be there.
Amen. Amen. That sounds like the Fowlers. You should see the Fowlers when Italy's playing. All of them all huddled up and they all
Yeah.
are like whispering to each other. Like you would think the Fowlers are college scouts, you know what I mean? Because they scouting out the other kid. Then the Fowler, you got to see the Fowlers are intense when they're on the sidelines. Amen.
Yeah, I know. I already know.
How and when did you know about the possibility of playing for the Utah Flash? How did that happen?
Okay. Yep. So when you asked about graduation, so like, college graduation is a big deal. You get a degree and all that stuff is a big deal. Tony, I didn't think of it as anything because my mind was straight on what's next in my basketball career. So the accomplishment of, a college graduation, it mean very much to me, to be honest with you, because all I'm thinking about is, all right, well, I probably ain't gonna get drafted. I'm going to the D League. That's the next goal. How do I get into the D League? So that was my thought. And the only way to do it at the time was the D League held a huge like summer camp, like summer exposure camp. If you wanted to play in the D League, come to this thing. You had to be invited. You had to receive an invite type thing. You had to like register and see if they would invite you. I was invited. I was one of 200 players. They split us up into 20 teams, 10 guys on each team, and these 20 teams are coached by assistant D League current coaches. And our team, we went 5-0. You play 5 games in these 2 days. It was in Dallas. You play 5 games, and after those 5 games, you go back home and like we'll call you. The draft is this and such date. If you get drafted, good. If not, then thanks for being here, type thing.
Amen.
So we played our games. We went 5-0. I played really well. I was pleased and didn't know if I get drafted or not. But D League draft comes around. I think I got drafted in the 7th round to the Utah Flash, like you said.
Wow.
And man, made my day. I was just so amped because like everybody else who gets an invite to play in the D League, it was the D League then, it's called G League now. But just like everybody else thought, man, I just made the D League. Man, I'm gonna be in the NBA like in a month or so. Like that's how everybody thinks. You making the G League, you one step away now. So you just feel like, at that moment, you're like, man, I'm gonna be in the league so fast, just watch. And yeah, obviously that wasn't the case with me, but that's what I was thinking at the time. And but yeah, man, the D League, it was something. So I was drafted in the 7th round. there were 20 guys in that training camp, 20 guys, and they were going to keep 10. And Utah Flash was an expansion team, so they already had a couple guys that they had, you're able to take off of other teams since you're an expansion team, and then the rest of us kind of fighting for a spot. I'm definitely one of the ones fighting for a spot. And I know this because everybody else is in the team housing already for training camp. Everybody else is in team housing. Me and 3 other guys, we in a hotel like, 5 minutes down the road, it's just 4 of us. And we're all like the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th draft picks. We're on this, over here. But we get into training camp and I'm seeing guys that went to Duke and Georgia Tech. And, here I come from American. And part of my mind when I get to training camp is, man, I wonder if I can hang with these guys. And man, like I tell my kids, tried my best, worked hard, and man, ended up making the team. Ended up playing very well, and got a spot as a backup point guard. First time I ever played point guard. I've been a 2 guard all my life. I am a 2 guard. I played the 3. I played down low because I rebound well. They put me at backup point guard, gave me a spot on the team, and that was my first season as a D League player.
Wow. Now, I'll never forget in the military, I traveled to Salt Lake City, Utah. And
Yeah.
from Fayetteville, North Carolina, that was a big difference. Well, and let me give Mary Lee's home state a shout out. It was the cleanest big city I ever been to in my life. Like literally, Coach Fowler, there's not one piece of trash on the floor. There's no, like, you don't see no homeless people. You don't see, you don't like, and so what was that like going from Virginia to Utah? What was that cultural experience like?
So Tony, just like you said, man, when I got off the plane, and quick funny story, I had 2 like large like Samsonite bags. I filled them to the brim. I ain't know what to pack. My first time packing, be away this long, and 2 big bags just filled to the brim. And one of them old, I'm hanging on the old luggage and stuff like that. And we just standing waiting for like the bus driver to get there after we got our bags from the thing. And I ended up, man, we're just standing there kind of waiting. And I end up tripping over my bags. I got glasses on at the time. My glasses fell off. I done fell in the airport. Everybody looking at me. And this is just embarrassing, like welcome to, Utah moment. I distinctly remember that. Some of the guys who was in training camp saw that. They like helped me up. I'm feeling like, man, look, get me out of here. That was my first time touching down in Salt Lake. But what hit me though is when we got out the airport and started driving around the mountains. I'd never seen mountains before. Like, and in Utah, I mean, it's clear, like, open air. We live in, Virginia is green everywhere, trees everywhere. But I ain't seen no mountains, and I don't travel west enough to, check out the mountains we got here in Virginia. I don't, drive west. We don't go that way. But I'm just in awe, man. Like I'm looking at all this open space. I'm like, it's beautiful here, So that was the first thing that kind of hit me. I didn't know anything about Utah culture or, Latter-day Saints and, or people they call them Mormons. I didn't know anything about Mormon culture. I didn't know anything about that. Right. I'm just, amazed at the mountains. And then when you get to, training camp and playing basketball, the people love basketball. So, culture wise, coming from DC to Utah, it wasn't as big a culture shock as someone may think coming from DC to Utah. And eventually I found out that it was a big difference. But at the time, man, I was just in awe of the beauty I saw around me. There's these huge mountains. It's all this open space. You can see for miles. It's, so unlike here where on the highway, all you can see is a bunch of trees. And that I just thought it was beautiful, man. And then basketball, like I said, I mean, we were expansion team first year here. We had big sponsorships of all the teams in the D League, and it was only like 16 teams at the time. We by far had the best crowds, like always packed. And, you in D League cities. I mean, some of these are some obscure cities. You can count the number of people in the stands in some of these places, and but we had packed gyms every night. So I loved it. I mean, I fell in love with the culture, man. I loved it, and it was a really cool place to play basketball.
Amen. Amen. Now, did Larry Miller own that team as well? Like the owner of the Jazz, did he own that team, or was it a different owner?
No, he wasn't owner. Our owner name was Brant Anderson. It was totally different owner, but obviously we were affiliated with the Jazz. And like I said, it was only 16 G League teams at the time, so we were an affiliate of the Jazz and the Atlanta and the Boston Celtics. So the Jazz and the Celtics were like our 2 teams that we were affiliated with. So we would get players sent down to us from the Jazz. If like the Jazz had a young guy that wasn't playing, he'd come down to us. The Celtics had a young guy that wasn't playing, he'd come down to us to get some playing time and then go back up with the teams when they're ready type thing. So we were associated with the Jazz and Celtics, but our owner was a guy that lived where we played at. So Salt Lake City is where you fly into. We drive about 30 miles south of that to Provo or Orem, Utah. That's where we played.
Okay, okay. Now, did y'all ever get the scrimmage against old Karl Malone and John Stockton? Did they ever pull y'all up and like use y'all for practice or anything? Did y'all ever get to play against them?
We didn't. We did though, since we had to always leave from Salt Lake City Airport. Whenever we were, heading to the airport to leave, if it was a day where the Jazz were practicing, they take us up to the Jazz practice facility and we got to watch the Jazz play. So at that time, Darren Williams was there when he was D Will, and Carlos Boozer was there, Paul Millsap, so they're really good players back then. This when the Jazz was like in Western Conference Finals type thing. So they were a big deal. So yeah, we got to see them practice. We never played against them though. I learned very early on that NBA teams want you to know there's a difference between the NBA and the G League. There will never be any. There ain't gonna be no practice session. That ain't happening. Nah, ain't gonna be no practicing against each other.
Well, that what I that was dumb of me as well because I forgot the timeline. The timeline doesn't match with those two players I mentioned. That was a dumb question. But so now here's a question because we do this really for the kids. We do this podcast for the kids and also for the parents of the kids. And this is the question I was thinking about that can probably add the greatest value for the kids and the parents that are coming up. How did you pick an agent, and what advice do you give to parents and young athletes who are looking for the right agent to represent them?
Man, Tony, this is an excellent question. And because it's an excellent question, because I don't think I got this part right throughout my entire career. So, the agent I had, so when my senior season of college was over, I went to my head coach. I went to Jeff Jones and I said, obviously I want to continue playing. I wanted to go to D League route. Do you know any agents? And this was the right thing to do, to go to my coach and see if he knew anyone. And he actually got me in contact with somebody. He got me in contact with an agent, and that's how I found my first agent. Just asking, Jeff Jones if he knew anybody, and he knew somebody that represented players that he used to coach at UVA. Put me in contact with them. Boom! I had an agent who got me into the D League tryout, and then kind of let me know how things work with the D League. So I ended up having an agent. That step I did was correct. Now, when it comes to parents and how they should choose one, because eventually, so I got that agent kind of as a favor for my head coach in college. That was a favor for Jeff Jones, for him to take me on, because to take on a player who only wants to play in the D League, that agent doesn't make any money. When I got into the D League for the whole season, I was making $13,500 for the entire season. That's how much I made in a year. That was my salary. $13,500. That's what I was making.
Right.
The agents, they can't take any of that. I mean, it's $13,500 for an entire year. So they're not making very much money off me. So eventually, when that agent moved on, as he only represented me as a favor, then it's when I'm in limbo and kind of like, well, how do I go about this? And I would tell parents and kids, what you're looking for is, number one, someone that will, prioritize you. And when I say that, I don't mean, you're not being naive in saying, like they have more clients than you, but just make sure you are a priority. Make sure you're talked to. Make sure you are followed up with. Because, some agents have, a lot of clients, and, you'll hear from them one day and you might not hear from them for, another month or so. Even after they tell me, well, I'll hit you up tomorrow, let you know what they said, and you don't hear from them for a month or so. So you have to remember that, you want to be with someone who you can tell you are a priority, because honestly, Tony, like back when I started in the D League, if you had a good enough agent, you may get an offer that someone more talented than you may not get, just because your agent, knows people. So not only someone who makes you a priority, but someone who has connections in areas where you're looking to play. You know, and all these things you would think are given when it comes to an agent, but it's not, you know, not everything's a given. So it helps when you have somebody who has experience with leagues and coaches of where you want to play. But then, you know, you got to make sure you're a priority. And this part I didn't do a great job of at all, you know, staying on top of your agent. Hey, have you heard this? Hey, have you heard anything? You know, I just didn't do a good job of that. So, but if you have a good agent, like I said, you can mess around and get a job or an offer that you ain't supposed to get, you know, to be quite honest with you. And I saw a lot of that as I, you know, kind of, you know, went through my D League career. And I think part of that is, you know, I come from America and no one really knew me. I trying to make my own name for myself and, you know, kind of thing. And, you know, this guy, you know, uh maybe he's the 13th man on team, but he went to Duke, you know, so at least he's known, he's got a better circle, he's got somebody who can get him in front of people and at least get seen and, you know, type thing. So the biggest things parents want to look for, one is someone who's going to make your child a priority, but make sure he has experience and connections in the leagues you want to play in. Who's his current clients? Are they sure? How can they assure you that they will, you know, keep you informed, keep you up to date? I think more so than anything with athletes my age and or a little bit younger, they will tell you that they've had some sort of agent problem and had to switch agents at some point. It's fairly common for someone, you know, came from the similar background as me, mid-major, and that's what a lot of your D League players are, and a lot of your pro players trying to scratch and claw and find a way. That's what a lot of them are. So yeah.
Okay. Now, how was your LA G League team experience different than your Utah? What was the cultural difference there? Like, how did things, you know, was there any big difference? Was it just all basketball, or what? You know, what was the big change when you went to play for the LA G League team?
The big change was that it was LA, you know, and it was LA, and there is no better D League, G League situation than playing in LA. There just isn't. You know, you don't. Again, you will be made known that there is an NBA team and there's a G League team. There's a difference still, but you're in LA. You are practicing in the exact same facility that the Los Angeles Lakers play in. You see Lakers all the time. You see them around. They, you know, talk with you. You'll see, you know, you see Rob Pelinka right there. You see Jeannie Buss right there. You see the banners right there. You can see LeBron just coming off the court from practice right there. You can see, you know, Luca. You can see AR. Like, I mean, you're there. You know, like, you know, the biggest difference coming from, you know, Utah was just, you know, like simply Tony, that it was just LA. Like, and again, I'm still a homebody type person. I have a wife at this point. It ain't like I'm, you know, looking to be out, but LA is LA and it's nice and it's weather and, you know, you get to enjoy things. And, you know, you don't really think about that when you're playing D League. You'll hear a lot of D League or G League horror stories about certain cities and there's nothing to do and all that type of stuff. That's not the case for, you know, LA, obviously. You're in an excellent place. And then the facilities are just out of this world. You get access to all the things that the NBA team has access to. That was like the big difference for me in terms of going from LA to or going from Utah to LA. The love of basketball from the fans still the same, the support still the same. And again, not that Utah is bad, it's just LA is LA. And it was, you know, unlike any other situation G League. So I probably had two of the better places you could have for a G League or D League experience, Utah and LA. You know, those were two like top-notch organizations who actually care about their G League team. There's some who, you know, you hear stories, man, it just, you know, there's not much care put into their team.
Mm-hmm. Now I know you're too classy and too positive to tell us when you're in LA and you're starting to meet some of the famous people. You're too classy and positive to tell us who were the pains in the butts or the buttholes. But behind the scenes, who were the people that were in a positive way? You know how they say don't meet your heroes, but who were some people? Give me two or three of some people that in a positive way you realize, oh man, he was just as cool as he is on ESPN, or he was just as cool as what his legend indicates. You know, give us some of the good news, because I know you're too positive to give us the dirt. So,
no, I'll be honest with you, Tony. I ain't got much dirt at all. Seriously, I think of very positive and good relationships and experiences when it comes to LA. I'll start with the obvious one, LeBron, man. I mean, he was excellent to me. Kind of went out of his. LeBron is a larger than life person. True 6'9", truly built, big stature of a dude, and he's aware of how people see him. He's aware that they see him a certain way. He went out of his way to make small talk with me, make sure I felt comfortable around him, type thing. When I received my second call up to play with the Lakers and play with him, man, he was just in it. And I'll tell you this, Tony, like I said, so I don't have any bad experiences. That's because players generally respect players generally. You know what I'm saying? So any, Laker or LA Laker that I met while playing on the South Bay Lakers, it was love. Russell Westbrook, it was love. It was, amongst teammates in those circles, in those, closed doors. This a lot of love there. Not a lot of hating, anything like that, to be honest with you. Not just with me, but I mean with anyone, as a player, there's a there's a respect level for the grind aspect of what you do as a minor league player, as a G League player. So there ain't really much they hating on you for. They understand what you're trying to do, what you're trying to get to. So there's a lot of love and respect there. So I definitely got that from Braun. I got it from Westbrook. All the names that were with LA during that time that I came in contact with. It was nothing but love, man. I got to see Kobe. Kobe showed me some love during my debut, and that was like a highlight for me because I mentioned the MJ earlier and fall in love with the game, and that just grew right to Kobe after that. So to have him to shout me out on social media, which I'm not very well versed in, that was cool. So yeah, man, I've had a bunch of positive experience, but the main guys, I mean, they've all of them treated me with some great measure of respect.
Okay. Now your time in LA, did you ever audition for any movies while you were in there? Do you have an IMDb that I missed?
I don't have an IMDb yet. I'll say that. But yeah, I did do Wheel of Fortune, which is shot in California. So I did do Wheel of Fortune. Famous game show, Pat Sajak, Vanna White. I was on there, and I'm a lifelong watcher of the show, so that like meant something to me. So yeah, that's about the only thing I can claim right there as far as like a LA thing. And you know what? I was on a TV show. It was called it was called Hack My Life. It used to come on True TV, and they picked a couple of the LAG League players to do that. So that was on True TV a little while back. I could probably still find that somewhere, but yeah, that's the only two things.
Awesome. Now, what was it like being elected the union representative of the G League? What was that like?
That was cool. So G League formed the Players Union in 2020, and a big shout out to the NBA players that helped us do that. So much like you kind of gathering from my story, I'm used to a certain way of things, the old school type of way of things, from the way you coach, from the way you go about things. And so when we're making 13-5 as I'm entering in the G League, I just I just think, well, that's just what it is. You're playing here for that one phone call away from being on the NBA team. So I understand why the salary is low. It never even crossed my mind that as a league we can unionize to fight for better pay, because 13-5 can get you nothing. Like you get into the 2000s, the 2010s, 2020s, 13-5 can do nothing for you. It doesn't cross my mind that you can unionize and fight for better, not just the salary, but the travel accommodations, the housing situation. You can fight for all this stuff. Never crossed my mind. And the NBA players who had some G League experience, they sent the NBA Players Association guys down to us to help us create and form a union. And when they did that, I was probably like the longest tenured G League player at the time. Obviously, you need to set up a council and all that. They asked me to be president, and I said, sure. I didn't know what I was getting into. But I served in that office for 4.5 years, and it was just amazing, Tony. And some of the things we were able to do. We just got a new CBA for the G League, so that now that 13.5 is at the least 50. So now we are. I mean, that's my G League legacy right there. Like the end of it. I have a part that's on the court and what I did as a player. But that part, I mean, that's gonna mean more to me than anything, just to leave it better than when you came in. So guys, now you can spend a whole career there, as I did, and be just fine. I was working plenty other jobs while I was playing in the G League. So.
Now, when you become a G League president, like how much time does that consume out of your weekly life? Is that like a 20-hour a week, or is that a 10-hour, 5-hour? How much time does that take from you?
No, very little. So being president of the players union and that doesn't take much of my day at all. We have executive directors that kind of take care of, handle all the big stuff. My job as players union president is to get a gauge from the players. Hey, what is it you guys thinking? What is it you guys seeing? What can we improve on here? How's this going? How's that going? That doesn't require much time at all. And I'm glad you asked, Tony, because some people confuse, and there was, how people put out, I don't know, not memes, but, like information or post stuff saying that I was actually the president of the G League. That's not true. I was never president of the G League, just president of the Players Union. So sort of like Chris Paul was for the NBA Players Association. I think CJ McCollum is now. Maybe it's Jaylen Brown now. But that was my job. So it wasn't like a 20-hour week thing and I'm overseeing everything in the league. I wasn't president of the entire league. I was president of the players union, meaning for our unionized group of players, whenever we had to ask the players about something in terms of improvements in the league, things that need to be done, that's my job. Go see, hey, what are we thinking? What are we needing? And then I tell our executive directors, we kind of collaborate. So we would meet, I would say once every other week or so, touch base like that. And I found it very interesting and beneficial to see that side of the game. It truly is. That's when you get to truly see that, okay, I'm a part of a business. I'm not a part of a childhood game that I just grew up watching and enjoyed playing. I'm a part of a business type thing.
Amen. Yeah, Coach Thompson taught Alonzo Mourning and the rest of them. He one time he said, all of y'all need to sit down, and he had them sit down and practice. He said, see where you're sitting at right now? He says, all of the people who make the real money in basketball, they make it while sitting down. And so it just was a way, he was trying to get them to think past just the court, that there's a whole nother layer of money out there that's waiting for people that's sitting down while you playing, So
certainly is. It certainly
now, you spent a little bit how long did you spend in Perth?
Okay, so I was in Perth for 10 days. 10 days total. So there's nothing about my story. So most people hear about, my G League story and they say, this guy, hung in there and kept fighting, kept scratching, kept clawing his way until he finally got that call from LA 10 seasons into his G League career. And it's partly true, but it doesn't entail the handful of, times that, even more for the handful of times that you get truly discouraged along the way and like, man, this is never going to happen. And man, I wasted my time. I spent too long in this league, and all this time I could have been overseas making a whole lot more money, and I'm here still making 13.5 trying to chase a dream. And other people have moved on and gone away and done better things, or made better money type thing. So my story is not complete without people knowing that, man, there were a lot of times where I wanted to leave this G League thing and just do something else, because the goal of what I'd come in here to do, which was everybody's goal. You only play in the G League to go in the NBA. You don't play in the G League to stay in the G League. But I was staying in the G League. I wasn't getting to the goal. So I ended up in Perth when I had gotten truly fed up. This was after my seventh, I think it was maybe my seventh, my eighth season, but it was the 2015 16 season of the NBA G League. It was one of my best seasons. At one point, I was shooting over 50% from the three-point line. I won the three-point contest, broke the record for 3-point contest, NBA and G League wise, broke the record. Just a huge year for me. Our team makes it to the G League finals. We're the lower seed. It's a 2 out of 3 series. We lose the first game at home, have to go on the road for 2 to win it. We win the second game, we win game 2. So now we're in game 3, which is our version of a game 7 in the finals. And in my head, I'm like, man, after 8 years, it's all coming together. This is the moment. I'm having my best season. We in the finals. It's game 7. This is it. We're gonna win this finals, then I'm gonna get in the NBA, and then it's gonna be the rest is history. Man, I had my worst game as a pro that game. Worst game as a pro. I go 0 for, I think it felt like 0 for 10. I went 0 for 6 or something like that from the 3-point line, maybe 0 for 7, 1 for like 10 the entire game. We get blown out. And we had some injuries. I had to stay in the whole time. I played all 48 minutes. And we get blown out by like 40. It's awful. This is the finals. Worst feeling time of my career as a professional. And afterwards, man, I was just fed up. I said, man, I'm not coming back in this league. I'm not doing it. I'm not playing in this league no more. The first overseas opportunity that comes, I'm taking the money. I'm just taking it. So eventually that call is Perth. It's Australia. And I said, I'm coming. And I get there, Tony, more money than I'd ever made. It would be equivalent to what G League players make now, about 10,000 a month, something like that. And I'm like, it's Australia. It's they speak English. If you're gonna have your first overseas experience, you can't get much better than Australia. It's American English speaking, beautiful place. Coach is cool, teammates cool, coach is cool, that the ones that got me out there. And Tony, man, like those handful of times I talk about when you talk about being discouraged and like, man, I messed up and man, I should have did something else. Well, if you feel that way, and when you feel that way, it does come to a point where you have to make the decision. All right, so are you going to go back or are you going to do something else? And I just felt the Lord, Tony, every time telling me, you got to go back. You got to go back. I know what I'm doing. You got to go back. So I kept going back to the G League because I just felt led to keep going back. And but after that game, man, in the finals, I said, man, I can't do it. I'm not doing it no more. And I was angry all summer. I wouldn't let people see it. Still the same smile on my face that you used to seeing. But I'm angry internally, just angry. And I'm just like, I'm gonna take it. So I get to Perth and I almost feel it immediately. And I think it's important to note that I go to Perth, excited, expecting something new. Like, finally, man, this is something new. I'm gonna succeed here. It's gonna be great. And then that's kind of what I'm expecting. I get there and I just feel it immediately. My spirit, I feel it immediately. It's just off. It's just I just know overwhelmingly I'm not supposed to be here. I just know it. And like I said, man, everything about the situation is perfect. The place is beautiful, English speaking, beaches, own car, own housing, which is stuff I never got in the G League. You'll never get your own car. You'll never get your own housing. You'll never get any of this stuff. And better accommodations, better everything, better travel, and everything is just better. So it should be everything I'm looking for. It's just not. And I left. I lasted 2 games. Now we won both games. I actually played pretty well. Shot 50% from 3 there. I played well. We went 2-0. And hardest kind of thing I had ever did in my pro career was going to that head coach, going to that GM and saying, I got to get out of here. And me, being a believer, I know what it is. It's my spirit. I know I'm not supposed to be here. You're gonna say that to the head coach? Head coach like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I'm like, man, I just can't do it. I just don't feel right. You don't feel right? What you mean? Every right to be that upset. I understand where he was coming from, but as a believer, I know, and when I talk to other believers, they know what I'm talking about. And yeah, man. So to have that conversation, for them to let me go, I didn't get a single bit of the money that I had signed to come there for. And it didn't even bother me at the time. And I come back home and with just a new, fresh, appreciation of all that I had done. So, because when I got back, and I lasted there 10 days, I got back and I immediately tried to get back into the G League, but the deadline had passed for returning players to play again or to come back again. So I was just at home for the next 5 months. This is after telling everybody at home, I'm going to Australia. There's articles about it. Sharpshooter finally taking his talents overseas. And 10 days later, man, mental health issues. He's coming back home and I'm getting text what happened. I'm going through 5 months of, I thought you were gone. I thought you were supposed to be doing nothing. And then, that can wear on you. And eventually at the end of the season, when it was okay to accept free agents again, I get to join Kobe Carl, who was the coach of the South Bay Lakers at the time. He says, "Hey, we have a spot. You want to come?" And I said, "Yes, I certainly do." And I returned to the G League with an appreciation of all I had done in those 8 years, not seeing it as a failure, because that's what I saw it as. That Game 7 finals game, it was like, man, I have failed my career. I've never made it to the NBA like I wanted to. I've stayed in this league way too long. I've made no money. I got a family now. I got kids. This is like, I just messed up my whole career. And instead, that 23-hour long flight to get back to, Virginia from Australia, I was just like, man, you have to look at this totally differently. You got to play professional basketball, something that, millions would kill to do. You've done some incredible things. You, have 3-point records, championships, and just a lot of accomplishments. I just start seeing everything that I've done as it meaning something. And so I just came back to the core of gratitude, man. I really did. And I said to myself, the biggest thing above all that, that you did this, you did that, and these are great things. Above all that, when you came to a point of decision, you went the Lord's way. That's what you felt you did. You can live with that. You can be at peace with that. I said, so, this time around, I'm just going to see what the end's going to be. I don't care. I know I'm supposed to be right here because I know I wasn't supposed to be there. I'm going to be right here. And whatever happens, we going to show some gratitude about it all. So if you never make the NBA, man, you went the Lord's way. So, see what he got for you, see how this ends, and you'll see what's next. And, that next full season was the season I got called up at the end of the season. So, I once I had finally released and gave up not gave up the fight to try to make it to the NBA, but kind of like gave up that it's a failure if I don't. That's when it happened. So it was crazy. Yeah.
I had to let it go. Had to let it go for it to come back. That's what Kim's favorite expression is. Sometimes you got to let things go for them to come back to you. Certainly. So that is awesome. Now everyone knows about, and I'll even play this. I'll insert the moment because everyone knows that beautiful moment when they called you up, and everyone I think all the basketball heads in Virginia has seen that beautiful moment.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, because all the podcasts ask you the same thing, so I'm trying to be a little different. Amen. So, Chris Paul is known for being a good teammate, but a ruthless competitor, with the people he plays against. I've seen him getting into a lot of scraps, but he has so much respect, and I see him giving you props and giving you respect. What was that like? And if you can, what did he share with you? And what was that like? Because this guy who normally he's a dog when it comes to people he's playing against. He had so much respect for what you had been through when you got called up. What was that like?
It was awesome, Tony, because my teammates who truly know me, some of my road dog teammates, they know how much I admire Chris Paul, and like you said, if he one of them types, like if he on your team, you love him, but a lot of people don't, especially when they compete against him, it rubs them the wrong way.
Right.
But so a lot of my road dogs, they know how much I love Chris Paul, just admire his, style of play, the way he plays the game. I just think of his generation, not including Steph, obviously, but of his generation, I think he's the best point guard of his, time. And so when I got at that scores table and got to, meet him, he had actually been trying to get a hold of me pregame. He was trying to get a hold of me pregame. One of the Rockets assistants who works at the Staples Center at the time, she was like, "Hey, Chris Paul's trying to meet up with you. We're going to see if you guys' pre-warm-up times work out." It didn't. And so we didn't get to see each other. And of course, by the time warm-ups come with team and it's about to be time to go, I'm locked in. So I didn't get to see him. But then when I'm going to check in, he just happened to be right there. And this what the conversation was. He said, I dapped him up. He said, man, I just want to tell you, I just think you got an incredible story, man, and congratulations type thing. And then he said, how old are you? I said, I'm 32. He said, you know what? I'm 32. And then we just dapped up and that was cool. And that was the conversation. But he was trying to get a hold of me the whole time just to let me know how much he thought of my story and found out we the same age type thing. And it was just a cool moment, Tony, especially for someone who I just have a great deal of respect for, you know, the player he is. And yeah, man. So that was a cool moment.
Regarding that call up, there was a lot of people who were happy for you. Is there any other like people that kind of came up to you that it really kind of stood out to you where you was like, you know, little moments that you're gonna probably carry with you till you're 80 years old that you're gonna remember?
The whole experience I'll carry with me. You know, just too many people to count who actually reached out. Um, I think probably the most fondest that I'll think about that reached out were kind of like my old teammates that when I first had joined the D League, those Utah Flash teammates. Um, I think of my D League experience, I'll always think of the Utah Flash first because that was like my intro. And some of those guys that played on those teams kind of reached out to me because it had been years since I played with those guys. So hearing from them was cool. And then it was just, you know, everything that happened from the time I found out that I'd be getting called up to the time the game happened and all that. It happened so fast. It was a blur. Everything just happened so quickly. So I never, you know, really got a chance to sit back and enjoy it until it was all over and stuff like that. But I carry every bit of it with me. I don't know what my favorite part about it was. Um, just the entirety of it was special. Yeah, it was special. I don't know if I can pick one thing about it, but I just do remember it just everything happening so quick. I couldn't barely catch my breath to like, you know, really, really truly know what was going on. I tell you this though, Tony, I tell people this all the time, like as I'm getting off and, you know, kind of, you know, scoring well, the one thought I had was like, man, please do not wake up. You know, just don't wake up. You know, like I'd had I'd had dreams, you know, like I had like, you know, going to sleep dreaming and I'm in the NBA and I'm chilling. And then I realize it's a dream and I wake up and I'm like, dang, man. And you know, in that game, I'm like, man, just don't wake up. Just don't wake up. I'm just, you know, hoping it's all real. Obviously it was. But yeah, that moment in that arena, Staples is special, man. I'm glad it happened in Staples, you know. Nothing against crypto. Love crypto too. Would love to play in crypto. But Staples is a special place. And I tell people all the time when I was in warm-ups, I wasn't aware, I don't have social media. I wasn't aware how many people knew of the story, knew me. But then when I got on the court for the team warm-ups, you know, when it's like 15 minutes on the clock and you about to start to hear them, I could hear people like knew who I was. But the floor, man, my feet, I keep looking down because the floor, it was like electricity running through my body. You know, that's how it was. And it was just like going through me. So it was like a nervous excitement, like, man, this is cool. Not a nervous, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like nervous, like this is it. I can feel it. I can feel it through the floor. Like this is crazy. Yeah.
Now, Coach Andre, this is my only tough question. All right. And I'll edit it out if you want me to edit it out. All right. So,
all good.
But this is my only tough question. You know, my family, even when I see your training tapes and you're shooting 90% from the 3-point line and just going and you never seem like you're tired and I saw you go off in that game. I guess for people who are like from you know, my family, we kind of hero worship you a little bit. What would a scouting report say that is your game deficiency? Like if so, like what would the criticism be of Coach? You know, objectively, I know you're an objective guy. What would the criticism be of your game? Like what's the weak points of like why, you know, it didn't last a little bit longer? And I'm sorry about that's a tough question, but I'll be honest with you, it's something I've always been curious about because I saw you put up numbers on them. You know what I'm saying? You put up numbers and I was like, wow, like that is awesome. And we hero worship you, so we don't see any deficiency. We family, you know. what would they say? Like if someone had like a criticism, you know, not the scouting report, what would the scouting report say?
So I'll tell you how scouting reports work. So your scouting report will it'll tell you uh, what you're trying to take away from the player. So whenever I got scouting reports, I loved when I saw a scouting report of someone who like did one thing like very, very well, something like you could that stood out. I can tell you right now, my scouting report, somebody reading it with me, it'd be run him off the line. Like that would be the scouting. That would be the extent of it. There's nothing else. Run him off the line, make him put the ball on the floor.
Okay.
So that's the scouting report. Now, to your overall bigger question is why it didn't stick, why it went last. That is it's not a tough question at all. It's an honest question because obviously you're not alone. People are like, man, you was killing, man. Why didn't he sign you again? Type thing. Obviously, I hear that all the time. Part of it truly is, and GMs will say this, and it's hard to hear as players, but I mean, in many ways, it's just very true. Sometimes it's simply a numbers game. So it really is. The amount of spots in NBA roster, NBA team, and the amount of people who have the ability, talent, intelligence to fill it, that doesn't match. The number of people who can fill it, there's a lot of people that can fit the bill, and there's not enough numbers for all those people who could fit the bill to fill it. So, they're selective in who they pick. So then throw in age, throw in potential, throw in what we can make this guy and what we think he could be. So once you add up that formula, then I'm gonna be out of that list, or in that case that they felt I'd be out of that list. Now you asked me, Tony, like I told you earlier, like I told you and Coach earlier, I think there's always room on the roster for someone who understands the game, understands how to play, great teammate type thing. And I will say, all those things that are me, good teammate, good around the locker room, understands the game, knows where to be, all that good stuff. That got me a call up the next season. So they didn't sign me after that game for the next season, but I did get a call up that next season. And I remember Luke Walton, he said it, man, in one of the interviews, because when I got called up that next time, people were expecting, oh man, he gonna play that many minutes like he did in the debut game, and it's gonna be cool again. And I didn't. I probably in that 10-day call up I got the second time around in 4 games, I played less amount of time in those 4 games combined than I did that one debut game. And one of the reporters was asking Coach Luke Walton, they was like, "What, Coach? Why'd you call him up?" Type thing. He said, "We called Andre up because we got a lot of injuries, and we need some guy. We need a guy to fill the roster spot who's not going to complain if he doesn't get minutes, who's a good teammate. All the things I just said, So even though I didn't get signed for another season, again, whether it be age or just experience, or they had other guys they thought may have more potential, or can have a better potential to be something to help the organization a little bit better than I could. For all of those things that didn't get me signed for another season, I did get enough opportunity to get another call up and play with LeBron. That was the season LeBron came that second time around, just by being all the things we tell our kids to do. Hey, it matters that you're a good teammate. Hey, it matters that you understand basketball. Some things that you think people don't see and not looking at, those things still matter, man, to make you the best player you can be, but also the best teammate you can be. You can get a call up off of that. So when I'm talking to kids and like giving talks and stuff, I say, man, I got one call up just off being a good teammate. Because that season I got called up with LeBron's team, that was my worst shooting year that I ever had. I don't know what happened that year, So after that debut game, that next season, horrible shooting season. Now shooting only, but defending wise, I was still defending well, doing all the things that there's more. Obviously, there's more to everyone's game than we know. So to go back to your scouting report question, most scouting reports just tell you what you certainly want to take away, because most NBA players are able to do just about anything. So you'll hear, oh, he can only go right. Well, of course he can go left. If you just, you cut him off right and you let him go left, he's going to go left. He can do that. But you try to take away the strengths. So, NBA guys can do anything, but a scouting report is going to tell you what you can absolutely not let them do. So, if there's a scouting report on a guy who is, just, like my level of type shooter, and you close out short and I shoot a three over you, you coming out the game. You don't understand the scouting report, so like, but if it's somebody who, is an excellent driver and, it's a kick out to him and you try to close out and you close out short to not let him drive by you and he hits a three, coach ain't as mad at you for that. That's understanding the scouting report. So a scouting report is going to tell you what you absolutely have to take away. But these are NBA players. They can do a little bit of everything. You're going to get scored on, but you can't let them score on you the way we're trying to take away from them. That will get you taken out of the game. You understand? So that's how scouting reports work.
Amen. I only got 3 questions left, Coach Andre. I apologize for this going so long.
I'll be talking long, Tony. You good, man? I know I
I
answered
apologize for because I think I told you only an hour, and then I done stretched it out to 2. I truly apologize, man.
You good, man? You good, Tony?
Now you are a huge influence to a lot of children here in Virginia, and you have I can say for my child as well. Whenever she is depressed and beat down after she's done got the brakes beat off of her in some type of game, she can go to Coach Andre's and she rediscovers her love of basketball. And I've seen you teach kids of all different types. And Coach Dave Fowler, he works with kids with special needs. And I've even seen you're very gifted where you will coach and teach basketball to kids who have special needs. You teach. You have a lot of incredible patience. What have you learned teaching these kids and having this huge influence with children? And so, what have you learned from that? And have you always been this patient, or is that something you had to develop teaching kids over time?
So, what have I learned that ultimately this may be my call in basketball? That's what I learned. And no, I hadn't always had this patience. I'll answer that one quickly. but yeah, but this may ultimately be, what I'm called to do in basketball, period, which is why, training, I don't think I'll ever give it up because I know what it's like. What you said about Courtney, and if, she get the brakes beat off of her, having a bad day, she can always come to, Andre's training and just be refreshed, just be renewed. So that probably meant more to me than anything we've done in this, however much time we've been, because there was a time for me when, the love of basketball was gone.
Right.
And saddest thing in the world for me to see a child push so hard that they lose the love for the game.
Right.
Whether it's from a Bobby Knight coach or, just a, super overzealous parent. And Tony, just so you know, that's not you or Kim, just so you know.
No, sometimes.
Yeah. No, but I just want you to know that, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not you guys. I just know when I've seen it. And I know what it feels like. And I don't want that for anybody who comes to me. So like for me, when it comes to training, I know they're gonna learn. I know I'm gonna teach them, but they must enjoy. They have to, when they come to me, I want them to know they're gonna leave with a smile or have a smile on their face at some point. And not that I can't coach hard, I can Bobby Knight it too, and I do for certain talented guys who need to have that, who have to have that. I have to be a different way, and I'm a different Andre in different gyms. But whenever you see me, you are not going to leave that gym saying, man, I'm done with basketball. That just can't happen. Not with me. I know what it feels like. And man, just imagine if my, love for the game had stayed away and none of what I did is done. And, we never got back into it. So yeah, so that's what I learned, Tony, like from these kids, man, and being with them. I learned that, this is a call of mine to continue in training in this way. Is partly who I am by nature. If I would describe myself, when you get, so after you say child of God, the next thing I'm an encourager. not that's just what I am. I am an encourager. You're gonna be encouraged when you come to me. You just will be. And doesn't matter how many shots you miss, doesn't matter how many times you fumble the ball off your foot. I'm gonna be like, good job. No, we need good job. Nope. So and it's not fake though,
Right.
Yeah, so being encouraging and being the word is escaping me, but being non-genuine in that's not what I am. I'm a true encourager. So it's what I am, Tony. And like I said, what you said about Courtney, that's my goal for everyone when they come to me. So I've seen a lot lost love for the game from really good players who are too hard on themselves or had somebody too hard on them and they just don't enjoy it no more. And that gets me more than anything.
Now I got a technical question that Coach Fowler will appreciate, and I didn't even talk to Coach Fowler about this before I ask it. You do something, because Courtney, we've taken her to, you're of course her favorite coach, but I take her to a broad array of coaches, just
certainly, yeah.
And you do something unique that no other coach or no other trainer has done, where of course you teach them the right footing, but then you mix it up with them and you teach them to go off. You sometimes teach them to go off the wrong, like not the wrong foot, but you teach them to go off the opposite foot, sometimes intentionally. And so you teach them the right way, but then you switch it up. Coach Fowler, have you ever seen anybody do that before? You ever seen anyone coach that, where they train that way, where they teach them to go the opposite foot sometimes?
I haven't seen that, but I notice a lot more kids trying to do that, but it's reactive. I mean, the basketball's a reactive sport. You have to react to the defense, you have to react to how things happen. And so sometimes you might not be able to get to your right foot. You have to, make the play off the wrong foot. So that's actually pretty solid training, to be able to, if you have to react like that, to already know how to do it.
Amen. So you're the only one I've seen do it, Coach. Coach Andre, what inspired you to make that part of your training?
Yeah, and it's different. I had to grow in my training as well. So my basketball mentor, Corey Alexander, all the training drills that I do for myself and that I teach the kids, I learn from Corey, the basis from Corey. And then I kind of add stuff as I go along. And it's exactly what Coach Fowler said. So I like to have the kids do things that I know they end up doing in games. Here's what I tell the kids. They think it works like this. They think it works like, I train, I'm ready to play. It's like the opposite. You have to play to see that, like, they need to know that I'm not just giving them drills and then saying, hey, you're ready for basketball. The drills I have, they come from things that I've seen that they will do in games or things that you'll need to do in games. So it's not once you come to my training, now you're ready to play. It's like, no, you have to understand that I'm doing these drills because these are the situations you're going to be in the game. And so you have to play the game first and say, hey, I need to work on this. Oh, I need to do this. I did get this kind of shot off, but I wasn't ready to shoot it. So when I'm training kids, especially, and Tony, what you're talking about is layups. So every, basketball coach in the world knows if you're on the right-hand side, you should be dribbling with your right hand. If you're going right-hand layup, you should jump off your left foot. But what Coach Fowler just said, and I only do some of this, wrong foot stuff with a certain level of player. You can't do it for everybody. Some people you just have to stay with the fundamental parts of it for them to learn it, for them to grow in the game. But Coach Fowler said it. If Courtney's, and we talked about this, if Courtney's on a fast break and she got a real athletic girl chasing her, to get that left foot down, that extra step to get that left foot down, take the layup, that might have been the extra step for her to get that chase down block, somebody chasing her. Sometimes you got to jump off that right foot, and you're going to jump a little bit earlier than you want to, but you jumping that split second earlier than you want to will allow you to get it off without it being blocked. So I'm going to teach you because you would instinctively do that. It's reactive, like Coach Fowler said. You're going to instinctively do that. I want you to know how to do it on purpose. So a lot of things these kids do in games, whether they shoot a certain way off the certain foot or lay it up a certain way off the certain foot, and they do it reactively, or they do it in, if you told them to do it again, they couldn't do it. So I want to make sure that they can do things on purpose, things they're trying to do on purpose. And, that's kind of where it grew from. I just, I don't want you to luck into something. I want you to be able to know, hey, I can use this as a skill because I know how to control my body and know how to do things. I tell them all the time, like great players, they control their feet. They can tell their body do something and it does it. and you'd be surprised, Tony. Some very talented players, some very talented pros. You tell them to do something, they can't. You tell their body, hey, I want your body to, go with your right hand, jump off your right foot, finish with your right hand. They're gonna jump off that left foot just because they're conditioned to do that. But the best of the best, they know how they can be in control of their body. So that's what I just try to give them, to be in control of what you do. That's all.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, my last question: what is next for Coach Andre? I always like to say, and as I ask that question, I want to say you have an incredible radio voice. Where you could definitely do what we're doing, and I'm almost a little jealous because now some people. I got to be careful what I say because some people would try to racialize the joke, what I'm about to say.
I got you.
Boy from Fayetteville. My grandma is jacked up. You know what I'm saying? And I will throw some some D's on the end of my so it ain't nothing to do with color or race or anything like that. Is you before I finish that last question, I want to jump to how did you learn to speak so eloquently? Because a lot of us country boys, we don't sound so eloquent all the time. How did you have that? How did you learn that perfect grammar and how did you get there, Coach Andre?
I can't tell you, Tony. I really can't. Sometimes the country come out of me too. I can hear it right now. I don't know, man. My wife is better about stuff like that, and I've gotten better as our kids have had to do speaking engagements and stuff. And I kind of go back to the teachers who taught me when I had to give speeches and stuff like that, and had to practice talking. Yeah, man. I don't know, Tony. I try to, if I speak loudly, clearly, and affirmatively, it comes out better. When I'm not sure what I'm gonna say and I kind of, talk a little bit lower and it's kind of mumbled and it doesn't come out as well. You have to be authoritative in how you talk. You have to, and I slow myself down too. So you asked what's next. I've had a taste of broadcasting. I've been a part of the NBA Players Association Broadcasting University. They have a program that they used to put on. I was a part of that program for 3 years. Most people get to do it for one. They let me do it for 3. I've done it online because it was during COVID. I've done it in person at USC. Actually got a degree in like a day old degree in broadcasting. I would love to be a part of it in some way, whether it's color commentary, commentating games, or being a studio in some way, shape, or form. Broadcasting is in Coach Andre's future. I will say, ultimately, basketball ain't been hung up in Coach Andre's basketball future yet either. So hopefully you see me playing somewhere very soon, and then you hear me talking about it. So yeah, that's what's next. But yeah, as far as how things come out, I don't know, Tony. Like sometimes I speak well, sometimes I don't. I'm looking at my wife. I'm looking at Mary Lee, Tony, because she's always big on enunciation and making sure the girls pronounce everything correctly. Because sometimes I slur and the country come out and I can't really control how I'm saying or what I'm saying. And but yeah, she's good about that, to make sure I get every syllable, I get every note, I get every So yeah.
Right. Well, hopefully our audience don't kill me for that question. It's like,
no, man.
So well, hopefully it don't come off like that, because I know when people say, there's other folks who have that. No, for me, I don't care. You have a broadcasting voice. That's why I asked that. And I'm hoping somebody notices that. And that's the reason why I brought it up, because I want somebody to notice that you have an incredible when people step into Cool Springs, Coach Fowler, you can hear Coach Andre's voice and when I call my wife, you can hear Coach Andre's voice just booming, and you can hear it very clearly all through the cell phone and everything else. He just had, I joke with him as well. He's got a preacher's voice, so that's. So I'm hoping people know, they hear my country and they know my background. Where I'm not asking that, like, I'm surprised that he speaks so well. I'm not trying to be like,
nah.
But amen. Now, Coach Fowler, as we close out, you have any closing shots, or any closing thoughts, Coach Fowler?
Man, the only thing I could think about while I was listening, because I caught myself again, Tony, sitting here listening and getting pulled into the story or whatnot. But the only thing that I could think of was that I remember me and my wife watching Sports Center. on his debut, and that was big. You know, it replayed. They showed it a lot. They talked about it a lot. Um, but not knowing the story. I mean, nobody who thinks about that. Who thinks you think, oh, that's an awesome, it's a cool story. You know what I'm saying? But you don't think, you know, that Chris Paul reaching out to him before the game, and you don't think, Kobe shouting him out and all of that, because you just think of him as another NBA player. You know, when you're watching it on SportsCenter, you're just thinking this is another NBA player, but you don't think about the path to get there. You don't think about, him a year earlier losing the love for the game and almost walking away. You know what I'm saying? You don't think about that. And then you think about the electricity just running through me. I kept looking down. I want to go back and watch now to actually see after hear him talk about it, go back and watch the whole thing again just to kind of see how everything transpired. But you don't think about that, and you don't think about the person. You just think about the moment. You just think about what ESPN is putting out there, and they're showing this whole story and whatnot. um and I think it's awesome to get to hear the story, for the parents, for the kids, for everybody. Italy's gonna listen to this one. My wife's gonna listen. I mean, they always listen to them, and then they get to and Italy don't know the story, but and you know what? Intentionally, when my wife said, "Who's on today?" I said Andre Ingram. He, from Richmond. He trains kids over in Richmond. He played in the G League, played for the Lakers a couple years, whatnot. And she was like, "Oh, that's pretty awesome." She didn't tie it together. Italy's over here talking about what's the G League. So Italy, she the stuff she says irritates me sometimes, but because it's like you, G League. But anyway, but my wife, by the time we get to this point of the show, when she hears it, will have now known who Andre Ingram really is, and she'll remember that story. And I'm sure she'll feel the same way. Like, you never think about the person, you never think about what they're going through that night, what's going through them. He's like, please don't wake up, please don't wake up. Like, I would like that is awesome. Because how many of us have had a dream where we doing something great and we don't want to wake up? You know what I'm saying? And he's living it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, I think that's awesome. And I think for our audience, and for anybody that would be listening to this, I mean, putting it in that perspective and saying there's a person behind the moment, there's a person behind the story. It was cool to hear that, and to kind of feel what you were going through, your whole journey. But that night is the night that we all got to see. You know what I'm saying? So hearing the whole journey to get to that night, and then hearing how you played through it, that was awesome.
Amen. Well, thank you, Coach Fowler, and I thank you, Coach Andre. And please tell Mary Lee that I apologize for taking so long. And please tell the kids as well that I apologize. That the good news, Coach Andre, we got two part. We're gonna break this into a part 1 and a part 2 because
cool.
Because I took so much of your time. I really intended in my heart for it only to be an hour. And then it's just you give such good answers, and it just went a little bit longer than I anticipated. So I apologize for taking so long, Coach. I really appreciate your time, man.
Don't apologize at all, Tony. You good? My wife is giving me a look like, well, now you're gonna take us to dinner. But so thank you for that. But no, man, I understand, Tony. I give long answers because I like to give the whole answer. I don't like snippets and all that. I don't like just little notes here and there. I like to give the whole story, man. So I answer questions very very extensively. So it ain't you. Half of this is me. So all good, all good. And Coach, I appreciate those words, man. Seriously, and both of you. This is an honor for me, Tony. Tony ain't got to ask for much, Coach. He pretty much know I'm gonna say yes if he asks me something. But that's just because of who he is, and their influence, he and Kim's influence over me and Mary Lee. So this was nothing, Tony. It was nothing.
Well, thank you again, Coach, and for any of the ones who's listening, I can say this, Coach Andre. He's I'm a pastor, and I step into the room and I try to stand up a little bit taller when I'm around him. So that's just the kind of guy he is. You know what I'm saying? Where You know, like, to be honest with you, Coach Andre shows up at the game, I try to act a little better than I normally act. So that's just the kind of man that he is. So I just I thank you, Coach Andre. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to this coming out. And I just thank you again for all that you do.
Yes, sir. We'll be watching as well, waiting for it to come out. Coach, thank you, man. Tony, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate you,
God
man.
bless you. Thank you, Mary Lee.
Yeah.